Hey guys, welcome out to a special episode of Pod of War. It's just me and Craig. How's it going,
It's so
Craig?
lonely. It's so quiet.
So peaceful. So as you'll have figured out from the thumbnail, this is another achievement video, similar to my trophy video, but of course we're doing Craig's achievements. Now Craig is the best of us before we even get too far into this. So right, so let's transition away from our beautiful faces, Craig, and then we'll move on to the list. So here we are. We're on trueachievements.com, which is obviously Craig's favourite website. It's probably the most viewed website on your phone at this point, right? If we're honest.
I do use it pretty much all the time, especially for like news and stuff like that, because it does probably have some of the best news coverage you can get for Xbox nowadays.
And they're not paying us, but if they want to, they can go ahead. So we'll start this journey right here at the bottom, Craig. Grid 2008.
Yeah, so obviously it's slightly different for your list, Dave, where I'm doing it from when it was played, or when it was first played, I'd imagine, for True Achievements. So this is all the way back on the Xbox 360 era.
2008, I think, Craig.
Yeah, and it's actually weird that Grid is here, because I don't think I actually played this back then. I think this was given away for free at some point on Gold or something like that, and I think I played it then. I don't think I actually played this when I first got my 360. And I have it's a good start because I have absolutely no recollection of Grid. Apparently I got 4 achievements in it, Dave.
Nice.
Couldn't tell you what they were.
I think I have more achievements in Grid than that.
Probably.
So if I remember rightly, it's the game that introduced rewinds. That's what it's famous for. It's the first game that did the old rewinds when you crash.
See,
there you go.
I could not have told you that.
That's why I'm here.
That was something that I obviously played at some point, but like I said, I'm not actually sure I played it all the way back then. Then we have FIFA 08, and this was just before my FIFA addiction, Dave. So I think my FIFA addiction actually started. You'll see in this video there's a lot of FIFA games on this list.
Well, this is pre-Ultimate Team, right? I think.
Yes, so 09 was the first one with Ultimate Team, and it was actually really bad, and no one played it. It was not until 10 that Ultimate Team really kicked off. But FIFA 8, like I said, I played a little bit, but this wasn't like full-on addicted to FIFA, Craig, where I was kind of a bit of a god. This was just me dabbling around a bit. This was the weird one where you could quite often glitch and score from kickoff if you just turn around and shot.
See, I was
if you can remember that.
Very much into PES at this point, if I'm honest with you.
That was 08, I think, was the one with Ronaldinho on the front cover.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't play it a great deal. It wasn't until 9, which we'll get to in a minute, I'm sure. I actually played a lot more. And then next up is Burnout Paradise, which is actually the game that made me buy the 360, David.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Because I played it in Comet or Currys or something like that.
Oh, God rest it. Are they still around somewhere?
Oof, I don't know. And I played it in like Comet or Currys, like I said, and thought it was amazing. And I bought it and I barely played it for some reason. I don't know if it's because maybe it wasn't actually as good as I thought it was, or because other stuff had kind of come out. But yeah, like I said, I only got 11 achievements. Couldn't really tell you a great deal about it, other than obviously it played Paradise City every time you loaded it up, which was great.
Where do you sit on the whole open world racing games? So obviously now you like them a bit more. Obviously there is a remaster of this, so I don't expect you to go back and play this one, but do you reckon you'd give it a second chance now it's on Game Pass?
Definitely not.
No.
Imagine Paradise has had its time, for now.
Sad times.
And then next up is Assassin's Creed, which is obviously the first one.
Oof.
Which is, probably the worst one as well. It kind of, I think we spoke about it before on the podcast, how it kind of sets up the series, but doesn't actually do a lot of the things that it wants to do particularly well. I actually bought this because I didn't have a clue what it was. I only bought it because I was massively into UFC back in the day.
Right.
And Assassin's Creed had a massive marketing deal with UFC, so Assassin's Creed was on everything.
Okay.
So it was on the corner of the octagons and everything like that. So I kind of bought it for that reason, then was a little bit confused as to what it actually was. As you can see, I only got 6 achievements, so I got so far, I got stuck, and then pretty much gave up, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those things I've tried to go back to many times because it's been X enhanced now, and it looks great, but it, like you said, it is so boring. It's just
Yes, it is.
getting flags and wandering around slowly.
the collectibles were awful.
Oh
There were
yeah,
hundreds and hundreds of flags, if I remember correctly.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's
so
amazing that you
it's,
stuck with the series after one, really, because it took me a few years.
yeah, well, it wasn't until three, I think, that I went back
Oh
to
really?
it, and I
Same
played
with me.
two
I thought you played.
afterwards.
Oh, you played two afterwards. Okay, I was like, I thought you played
Yeah,
the Ezio games, but
yeah, no,
you
it's only
guys.
two. And then we're getting into now we've got flat out Ultimate Carnage, and this is when I was actually. So when I first bought my 360, I was obviously a teenager and didn't have much
Yeah,
money.
rub that in. Thanks for that.
So some of the games around here are games that my friends just kind of like lent me, so I had games to play. And Flat Out was one of those. It's probably the best of the ones that I borrowed, in all honesty. It's a really fun, like arcadey racing game, which I think was made by the same guys that made Wreckfest eventually.
Yes.
Um, it doesn't look like I played it a great deal, looking at the fact that I only got 8. But out of like, as we'll get onto in a minute, out of some of the ones it's compared to, it's easily the best. Then we had Fight Night Round 3, which was amazing.
It's an Xbox classic. That one.
It
Absolute
was.
classic.
This was the one where, so all the punches were done on the right analog stick. I think I'm right in
You are
saying.
right in saying.
So you would jab, for instance, by pushing the stick forward. You would do hooks by like circling the stick around. It was really, really cool. It was a really easy completion as well. And looking at it, I'm missing one achievement,
Yeah,
which
which
is
is disappointing. I think you just have to finish
yeah.
the game, right? I think you can
Yes.
literally like turn. If I remember rightly, you can like turn like rules off, and then just basically dick punch your way to like
Oh yeah, you could.
to
You
like
could do
to
that.
like all the
Right.
achievements. This was like one of the
All the
first
achievements
demos as well, which was
were
impressive.
basically just get sponsorships as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, back then people hadn't really figured out achievements
God,
because
no.
it was quite a new thing. So as you can see, it only had 8 achievements for the whole game, which is kind of weird when you look at it nowadays.
Yeah,
But that was quite common back then, I think.
yeah, it was a
Because,
launch
like I said,
window
people just-
sports game. They were all
Yeah.
bad for that.
Yeah, but it was actually a great game. Probably the best boxing game
I
I've
wish
played.
they'd come back instead of UFC, if I'm honest.
Definitely. And then we're on to another game that I borrowed from someone in Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Advanced Warfare 2, which is a name, and Christ, that goes on for a
Yes.
bit. This was awful, I thought. I absolutely hated it. I'm surprised I even got 6 achievements because I think I might have played it once for an hour, and that was about that. And this was one of those games back in the day. I think they were quite, I don't know if they were quite popular, but there seemed to be quite a few of them back
Yeah,
then.
they were very
where
popular.
you were very strategic, and it was all about controlling your kind of allies, as well as controlling yourself. These games just kind of seem to have kind of died off nowadays. They kind of become more like actual strategy games instead of these kind of. I think this was third person or first person, but
I think it might have been both. I might be
Yeah,
wrong.
I think
feel
you
like it
might
might
be
have been both.
But yeah, I hated it. Barely played it. And I'm glad that those sorts of games have kind of died off nowadays.
See, I enjoyed it, but I'd played like the old Rainbow Sixes on the original Xbox, and so I still had kind of like Stockholm syndrome for them. I was like, oh, this is fun, and then like if I played it now, I'd hate it. I'd hate it completely.
Oh, 100%. Hex HD, I
Great game,
think,
by the
was
way.
given away with the consoles as part
It's-
of on the hard drive.
Yeah, it's installed on the hard drive. Yeah,
Yeah, that was it. I think I probably played it once looking at my
absolutely
achievements.
shameful. I
Yeah.
love Hexic HD.
Yeah, I
unironically.
was never into those sorts of like arcadey kind of games, in all honesty. So I think it was more of a curiosity. Let's load it up and see what it was. And, yeah, 2 achievements and done. That was probably one play session of about 10 minutes, I'm going to imagine.
Oh.
And then we have a bit of a classic, Dash
do.
of Destruction, which was given away for free at some point before Games for Gold was ever a thing.
It was a free game. It was a Doritos advertisement game.
There we go.
Because if you load it up now,
Everyone
you'd realise
played
that.
this. Yeah. Everyone played this back in the day because it isn't like an easy completion.
Yeah.
And this is obviously before all games had 1000G. So this was a 200G game, which is weird to look at nowadays.
Yeah, all the arcade games were, I believe. There was a couple that they started
200,
adding like
yeah.
400 and 500 by the end. But yeah, 200 was the standard.
Which, when you look at some of the shenanigans that go on nowadays, maybe they should do that with some stuff. Because
That
it
is
has
a
gotten,
whole new video that me and you need to do at some point. But
that
yeah,
has got out of hand nowadays. But yeah, it was a very easy game that you would literally beat in like, I don't know, like 45 minutes or something like that. You just basically
it's
ran
fun.
around destroying things. Yeah.
it was a fun game.
Going from a fun game to a not fun game in Mirror's Edge, and I'm gutted that I have one achievement in
I
this
have
game.
the same problem.
It is awful. This was a game that, so I didn't buy this. One of my friends bought this game. He played it for like half an hour, did the intro, started the first mission. It's like, this is awful. Lent it to me. I did exactly the same. It's like, this is awful. Then it literally worked its way around my little like friendship group at school. All of us did about half an hour, said it was awful, and then never played it again. It was a weird game because it had a like massive. It must have had like a massive marketing budget because it was everywhere. Yeah, and I don't know anyone that actually like got anywhere in it.
I bet you our other co-host has probably completed it. It's probably like his favorite game.
Yeah, yeah.
I too hated it.
It did get a sequel eventually.
It did. It got like a reboot, which was just as bad. I mean, I have a similar story to you. Like, I played that. I think it was first year at uni, and I came home for Christmas. My brother had it, which means it must have had a big marketing push because my brother was very much like you. He just played COD and FIFA really, and he was like, "This is crap. Do you want to play it?" I also have the 10G, and I'm like, "Why? Why?"
Yeah,
needless to say, neither of us are going back to that one.
Oh God, no! I think, as you can see, I gave it a 1.5 out of 5.
That was quite generous, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, now you're onto a classic.
A real classic.
Real classic.
The first Dirt.
Oh, what game!
I'm not sure if I bought this if someone lent it to me back in the day, but I did play it a fair bit. It was quite a like racy game, like rally racing game, which was really fun.
It was the first halfway game. It was like half arcade, half racy. I love Dirt 1.
It had really good like graphics for back in the day as well. It looked really beautiful back on like early 360. I couldn't tell you much more than that. Obviously, I have 16 achievements in it, but my memory of that game is
I have 46 achievements in that game.
Nice.
I'm missing 3 achievements. It's great. It's the last Colin McRae. Obviously, because we're on the American website, so it only lists it as Dirt. For the UK, it was Colin McRae Dirt. It's the last one. Okay. 06, I think. God.
And then next up, we have a weird game in Fear, which I think I bought this for like pennies. Like I said, I was a teenager back then, and I had like no money. I think I bought this at like Game Station for like £2 or something like that. I had no idea what it was when I bought it. Like, it's weird back then because the internet wasn't as like big as it is now. You would just go into game stores and just end up with something really random that you had no idea what it was. Whereas now you kind of know what you're buying beforehand. Whereas this is one of those games, I had no idea what this was. I think I got home, played it for a bit, was like, this is genuinely terrifying. And it was really hard as well. It was weird. It's quite a difficult campaign. It adds really weird multiplayer as well. I have 3 achievements, and my ratio on this is like 2.6. I think I must have like a multiplayer achievement before the servers were shut down or something like that, but people just can't get, which is why my ratio is so good on this game. But yeah, 3 out of 47. That was like a one and done. This is terrifying. I'm never playing this again. I probably sold it immediately.
You might enjoy it now, weirdly, because you've played Resident Evil 7, and because the graphics are so like, I don't know, not bad but old. You probably wouldn't dislike it now. It was quite a good shooter, from what I believe.
Obviously, it was a solid game. Definitely.
I'm a big scaredy cat as well, so I didn't play it. But from what I'm told.
As we'll get to, I did play some of the sequels to it, so we will get to that eventually. Nice. Next up was Streets of Rage 2, which
great game.
I never played like Streets of Rage games back in the day. I bought this randomly for God knows what reason. I think all of those 9 achievements came in one session where me and my friend just kind of sat there and did it all in one go.
Oh, it's lovely stuff.
Yeah, it was. I think we ended up actually. I don't think we finished the game. I think we got bored and turned it off because it's always one of those things when you think of like, oh, these old games are going to be great, and you go back and play them, and they're like, oh, there's a reason why games have moved on a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a one and done, one playthrough. Like I said, is one of those weird games again where it only had 200G. Like I said, back in the day, all the arcade games were kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have a couple of fighting games, which is weird because, as you know, Davey, I am awful at fighting games.
Yes, it's not what I was expecting to see on this list.
We have Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe, which I actually played quite a bit. No idea why I bought this. Again, this was back in days when you would just go to a game shop and just come home with something completely random. I think this is probably my most played fighting game, I'm going to assume. It was it was a weird, like, kind of 3D-ish. Like, I don't know if it's like 2.5D or how you would call it. But yeah, I used to like playing as Scorpion. I played a little bit online, but like I said, I was awful, so I just mainly got my ass kicked. So my ratio is not bad. I'm going to imagine that's again because of the online shenanigans where the servers are
and
probably
I
shut
think
down.
it was
So
a
people
games
can
for gold
get.
at some point as well, which always
Oh,
affects
probably.
it. It's that I think that was the last quote unquote bad Mortal Kombat, because I think
It
after
wasn't
that.
that bad, in all fairness. It
No,
was
I think
okay.
I think it was like in between, right? I don't think it wasn't as like loved as 9, which I think came afterwards, and then Injustice, which is the equivalent sequel, I guess.
Yeah.
But I remember it being the big push. I think the big problem with it was it didn't have fatalities, right? I think that was the problem. Like they weren't allowed to like behead Superman and stuff.
Yeah. Yes.
So people were like moaning about it. I think I played that back in the day. God knows, mate.
I think it might have had
go into one.
something else called instead of
Yeah.
fatalities. I can't remember what they called them, but yeah, it was something weird like that.
Yeah, it was like finishers instead, or something
Yeah.
not quite as brutal. But nice. And then onto a completely different end of the fighting game spectrum, Street Fighter 4.
Again, no idea why I bought this. I must have been on a fighting game high from the one fighting game that I'd ever played. Street Fighter, I realized, was a much more kind of like stripped back, kind of, I guess, maybe more of a hardcore, less flashy game as opposed to the Mortal Kombat ones. And I was awful. And I gave up pretty quickly, I think, and probably sold it quite quickly. 13 out of 49. No idea like what I did. I don't think I did any online on Street Fighter. I think I just tried to beat the single player. I don't know, I might have finished it with 13 achievements, but yeah, I was awful.
Yeah, I think everyone bought that game as well. I think that was the one that everyone bought.
Moving on to a game that I actually did play a lot of, and that was Prince of Persia. And this is a weird game because had a really cool art style where it was kind of like a watercolor painting at all times.
Yes, this is the reboot, right?
Yes. Yeah. And this is the one where it was kind of, I don't think it reviewed very well because it was kind of impossible to like die or fail. If you fell off the map or died, it would pretty much just load you straight back in exactly where you were. So it was incredibly forgiving, which people didn't like. But it was a really kind of like fun, chill game back in the day on the 360. As you can see, I got 40 out of 50 achievements. I did finish it and played it quite a lot, but it did have a really bad achievement list because the collectibles again were mental.
Which is, of course, your kryptonite. Collectibles is Craig's.
There were like probably 1,000. I think it was orbs in this one. It's similar to the flag situation on Assassin's Creed, but I think it was orbs. And there was like 1,000 of them. And obviously, there's no way I'm running around and collecting 1,000 orbs on a video game, especially on the 360, where it's much more casual.
Yeah, and if I remember rightly, they hid the actual ending of the game behind DLC as well. If I remember rightly.
Possibly, I definitely didn't do any DLC.
Yeah, there was like an epilogue because I think at the end of the game, spoilers for a game from 10 years ago, like the girl like dies, and then for some reason you decide there's like DLC where you decide to bring her back and she's unhappy about it. That's all I remember. But yeah, it's an okay game. I wish that it's the last Prince of Persia. I think they might have done the movie tie and might have come in after. I can't remember. But it's a shame. I do like the series. I wish they'd bring it back.
Yeah, I say it was a fun game. It's probably one of like the better games I played at the start of my like little 360 run. And then moving on to Fatal Inertia, which is a really strangely named game because that just sounds like anything, doesn't it? But it was a like futuristic racing game, trying to be like a modern day for the 360, I guess, like F-Zero or something like that. In 3D, it was decent. It was good fun. Again, I bought this for pennies in like Game Station or something like that, having no idea what it was. You basically just raced around in these like flying rocket ships.
Yeah, it was a Wipeout F-Zero.
Yeah,
it was actually a PS3 exclusive. It got shown at E3, and then I think they just decided it was going to be an Xbox exclusive instead.
Yeah,
if I remember rightly, but it was one of those like aggressively average like early 360 games, but it was a decent game. Like if they came out now, it would be nothing, but at the time, it was pretty fun.
And again, when you're like a teenager and you're buying it for like £3, this is that was 100%. Great. I was another racing game in Project Gotham Racing 4.
Great game.
It was a great game. I only actually played this in multiplayer. I had never did any
Really?
single player on this because I used to have a friend back in school who we would play like a lot of co-op games and like racing games together with, and he was like ridiculously good, and I was pretty pants, but I was okay. So the only time I really played this was just playing it online with him. Hence why I've only got 11 achievements, and probably played it quite a bit. But like I said, because I only did multiplayer, I probably didn't unlock a lot of the achievements that were like single player based. But it was a great game. It's really fun, very arcadey, like really cool like street circuits and that sort of thing. But yeah, it was fun. And then as you can see, as I was saying, as a big UFC fan back in the day, I think this was the first UFC game actually in UFC Undisputed 2009, and
Quite possibly.
it wasn't great if I remember. I think it had a very buggy online. I don't think I played any online, but I did do the single player. Actually, I think I might have played it quite a lot, just because I was that hardcore UFC fan. I was like, "Oh, this is rubbish," but I'm still going to play it a lot. All I remember is you couldn't like you would do your career and you would make your fighter, and you couldn't move like weight classes or anything like that. So I think like my guy was like, I had like 40 fights or something like that. I'd lost like one. At the end, you just basically just fighting the same guy over and over again because you're like, right, let's say I'm the welterweight champion now. All I can do is fight like George St. Pierre over and over and over again. So I'd beaten like George St. Pierre like 10 times or something silly like that. So yeah, it was a weird game. I said probably didn't get a lot of the achievements because a lot of them maybe online or something like that. But yeah, 6 out of 30. Strange game, very odd game. Again, this is a strange game that I picked up. I have no idea why I bought this. Devil May Cry 4 on the Xbox 360, obviously. This is an odd one because it had like 20 different difficulty settings, if I remember rightly.
And all of them hard.
Yes. I would have done it on medium, probably. I probably spent most of that run wondering what the hell I was doing and where I was going. But yeah, I remember doing it on medium and finishing it, and you unlock a load of other difficulties, and like some of them were like you die in one hit, and enemies are like basically unkillable. So fair play to anyone that actually like got a completion on that. I'm actually gonna have a look, see how many people have completed that because I would be intrigued.
It's it was a great game. It was
1%.
absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal game.
1,233 apparently.
Nice.
So
I
fair
think it was
play to those
the
1,000
first
people.
one on Xbox. I remember correctly. I don't think the previous
Possibly.
games were on Xbox. I think they were just PS2. So
Next we have, and then this is the start of my golf game addiction. I absolutely used to love golf games back in the day. All my friends used to play them as well. We used to play them online together. There's this and FIFA and Call of Duty were like our go-tos. So you will see, this is the first one, obviously, but I'm sure there's plenty more golf games on here. I couldn't tell you them, like, I can't remember anything that was on
Anything
09
specific.
as opposed to 08. But yeah, that was the start. Tiger Woods PGA Tour, it was the start of my like golf game obsession. Then this is another weird one. Football Manager 2006, Dave. I bought this. I think it was 25p in Pink Planet. If you can remember Pink Planet, Dave.
God, yeah, I do remember Pink Planet Taunton.
They had like 5 copies of this. Me and my friends were all in town. I think we bought like all 5 copies, all for like 25p each. I think we all probably played it once. It was weird. I actually remember playing as Arsenal on this, and Arsenal were obviously considerably better than they are nowadays back in 2006, Dave. So I remember just loading it up being like, oh my God, my team is amazing.
Yeah.
And just like, even the like hour that I played it, I just won every game comfortably. But yeah, it was an odd one. Bought it for like next to nothing. God knows what I did with that game afterwards. So I can't imagine I sold it.
Were disgusting as well. It was like sign a player for 1G, keep a
Yes.
clean sheet for 3G, and then it was mostly online achievements, if I remember rightly. For they had like a weird Xbox Live specific mode. It was like Xbox Live Cup or something like that. But,
Right.
Yeah, not a great version of the game, to be honest with you, but respect it. Respect the hustle anyway, you know.
Yeah, well, as you can see, I think I got 31 achievements on that game. So yeah, there was some weird, like again back in that early 360 era, people were doing all sorts of weird stuff with achievements. You would get like 1G achievements and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Before people had like ever really figured out achievements. And then we have another racing game, Forza Motorsport 3. I'm not sure. I must have bought this back in the day, obviously. I have very little recollection of playing it. Again, it's probably one that I just played with friends, I would have thought. I don't know. Actually, I got 22 achievements, so maybe I did actually play a bit of the single player. But yeah, it's kind of like obviously it's a very good, like all the Forza Motorsport games are, good simmy games, aren't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't remember anything from that. And then this is the start of the FIFA edition, FIFA 09. I played the absolute dicks out of this game. I said it was before Ultimate Team was really a thing. So everyone used to play ranked matches instead.
Yeah.
And I did this really cool thing where it only ranked the top 10,000 players in the world. So if you managed to get yourself ranked, you were like a big deal, you were decent at least. So it was that constant grind of trying to like get ranked, which was kind of the hook of it, which is really cool. And then onto a very bad game, Army of Two, the 40th day, which I gave a 2 out of 5, which is probably generous again.
Yeah.
I bought this to play co-op with a friend. We played it. We finished it. We grounded through it, and it was bad. It was a really bad, like, third person. It was trying to be like Gears of War, but I think it was EA that made it.
It was EA, yeah.
Yeah, and it was absolutely terrible.
Me and Pete struggle. This is the first game that Pete ever traded in his life.
Oh, I can see why.
It was awful. Yeah, it was a sequel as well. They did do an original Army of Two on 360. It was one of those games like Mirror's Edge that had a huge marketing budget because they wanted it to be something.
Yes.
But all three of them are pretty pants, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean that died away for a reason, didn't it?
Yes, it really did.
And then onto a much, much better third-person shooter, Davey.
Oh, yeah.
Gears of War 2.
What game?
Absolute classic. Obviously, it basically just expanded upon Gears of War 1 and made everything kind of bigger and more kind of explosive and more like of an action film as opposed to being a bit more dark and brooding.
Mm-hmm.
I played, obviously, this game a hell of a lot. I played a fair bit of the multiplayer, I think. I didn't do any of I think this game had story DLC as well. I didn't do any of that.
It did not.
I think it's just multiplayer DLC.
Yeah, the third game had single player DLC. This was all about Horde mode. This was the game that invented Horde mode. So everyone was on about Horde mode for Gears 2.
Yeah, obviously I managed to get 83%, so I think I definitely played it quite a bit. I did is it insane or heroic? That's the hardest difficulty.
We'll check. Let's
I think it's insane.
I think it's insanity.
Yeah. But I did that
insane
playthrough. It had the classic Gears of War achievement, which was get like 100,000 kills or some madness like that.
Yeah, I'm just pulling out the ones that you've not got, and they are get 10,000, get 100,000 kills.
Yeah.
Win 3 matches of Wingman, play 1,999 rounds of multiplayer. So yeah, it's all the trash stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of I'm guessing some people did achieve them, but for most people, just completely unachievable achievements on multiplayer.
Yeah, you have to dedicate your life to a game to get that kind of level.
But yeah, great game. I think that's the first one on the list I'd given 5 out of 5 as well, which is
very well.
It deserves it. Yeah. On to another great game, Dave. I know the one that you dislike. Not the original BioShock. This was, I think, again, I bought this randomly. I think I bought it because it was like the Game of the Year edition or something like that. And I was there like, oh, if it's Game of the Year, it's got to be good, right? It's got to be great. I knew nothing.
The Chris Gelly in you.
Yeah. Again, I probably bought it second hand for like a tenner or something like that. Long after it actually come out. And I liked it a lot. It had a weird like system where the shooting was actually pretty bad in it, and like if you shot the enemies, it did like very little damage. So everyone basically played that game where you'd get a power up where it made your melee really strong with the wrench, and everyone would just run around with the lightning bolt power. So you would shock the enemies, and you would run up to them and hit them with the wrench. That's my main memory of that game, just beating a lot of enemies.
That's your True Achievements Pro tactic for beating that game.
Pretty much. But yeah, it was a really cool game. Great setting in Rapture. I don't know if I did multiple playthroughs of it. I don't know if I did a hard run. I think I might have done actually back in these days. I was playing most games on like hard because I wanted to punish myself like that.
Because you're a pro gamer, Craig. That's why.
Yeah, which I move on to a bit, move away from eventually. But yeah, great game. Again, another 5 out of 5 one for me. And then again, the FIFA addiction, FIFA 10. This is when Ultimate Team had started like really taking off. I would have probably played more Ultimate Team than I did Ranked at this point. But yeah, I mean, it's FIFA 10. It was great. I was addicted.
Yeah, it was the first really good FIFA for about 10 years or something.
Oh, I don't know. FIFA 9 was great as well. There was a great little spell when there was like 9, 10, 11. I don't know if it was 12 or 13 when I started to kind of like fall away from it. But like I said, we'll get on to that.
They kind of became all of the same, didn't they? Once they got, I think 12, 13 onwards, it was just the same game. Whereas they felt different for a few years. They'd have like different features or different physics engines or whatever.
Yeah, so back basically back like 9, 10, 11, maybe 12, it was like it felt very arcadey.
Yeah.
So you could just smash goals in from miles away. It was very fun. Like if you played online, the games tend to be quite high scoring just because like it was, like I said, it was quite easy to score goals because you could just smash them in from like distance and that sort of thing. And it kind of moved away from that and became more simmy and more defensive, which I kind of got bored with. But yeah, FIFA 10, middle of the FIFA addiction, played the hell out of it. And randomly, Doom Arcade. No idea why I bought this. Didn't really play the Doom games that much on the N64 when I had it. I think I might have played Doom 64 like once or twice. Yeah, I probably played this like half an hour, I'm going to imagine, looking at it. And it was like, oh yeah, first-person shooters have definitely moved on from this because... If you remember rightly, you like can't look up and down in those games. You just kind of strafe around. Again, I probably bought this thinking it was a great idea, and then quickly realized that it's maybe not what I thought it was.
Without the nostalgia, games like that are not that much fun, to be honest.
Yeah,
I hate to be
exactly.
That guy. If you've got the nostalgia, they're great, but if you never played them in 1996 or whatever, then it's difficult.
Yeah, 100%. Then Resident Evil 5, which is a game that like most of the Resident Evil purists, I believe, absolutely hate. This was the co-op one set in Africa. I think it was set in, actually.
Oh, yes. I remember the controversy for this as well.
Yeah. I actually like love this game, mainly because I played the whole thing in co-op with a friend.
Yeah.
I actually, it was him that like made me buy it because I think there was a demo for this game because back then like demos were like, available for most games. I think we played the demo and we were awful at it, and we couldn't even beat the demo, which was like the first level. And I was like, no, I'm not buying it because we're dreadful. And he like wore me down, and eventually I bought it. We ended up doing like, I want to say like 4 or 5 playthroughs of this game.
Wow, nice.
We ended up beating it on like the most difficult setting, partly because it was the old Resident Evil thing where every run you did, you would then earn like money you could like use in the shop to buy like upgrades and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I remember we had like the infinite ammo upgrades and pretty much all the guns because like I said, we'd done like 4 or 5 runs. By the time we got to like the last run on the hardest difficulty, we had like pretty much everything unlocked. So we could just like stand there and like spray down zombies without having to reload ever. But it was still quite difficult actually on the hardest difficulty because I remember the boss fights were like an absolute bastard in this game. I remember every time you died, it would like count. So there was like ones that we did like 150 attempts on or something like crazy like that. And it was just us at like, it was either like end of secondary school or maybe start of college. And it'd just be us like 2 o'clock in the morning, just retry these same bosses over and over and over again.
It's the dream.
Yeah, definitely. So it's one of those games that's like, I kind of like see that, I can understand why people don't like it, but for me, I absolutely love it just because like that nostalgia of like playing a co-op with a friend and doing all those runs in it.
People hated it until 6 came out, and then they were like, "Oh, we hate 6 more." So 5. Okay.
Yeah, I never played 6. I've not really seen anything of 6, so I wouldn't know. But yeah,
6 is weird. 6 is the most action you've ever played. I think it is co-op. Like you probably would enjoy it, but like it's not very pure. It's the complete other end, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, obviously this wasn't a very pure like Resident Evil game, so it wasn't really that horror or anything like that.
It played like 4, but in Africa. and you had a
and
friend.
co-op. Yeah. And then on to an absolute classic,
Yeah.
baby. And this was number 4, I think, on our best
One achievement
games
away,
ever.
Craig. One achievement away.
Yes. So you'll notice actually quite a lot of Call of Duty games as we go through. I think I'm one achievement away, and you'll be shocked to hear that that is the collectible achievement.
Oh
Because
dear.
I just refuse, especially back then, to go through and
Yeah,
just
there
get
was
the
no Macca
collectibles.
back then, was there? Let's be honest.
No, there was like other alternatives. I think I used to use God, I think it was called like next gen walkthroughs or something like that. Shout out to that guy if he's still
He's
going.
still
I doubt
around,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's ironically Achievement Hunter that I used to use for stuff like that.
Yeah, I like the Halo stuff that we'll probably get onto in a bit. That was I used to use a lot of Achievement Hunter for that.
Oh, hell
That's
yeah.
how I got into Achievement Hunter. But yeah, Call of Duty 4 absolute classic. I don't think any of the achievements for multiplayer. I think they were all
It was all
single
single player,
player.
yeah. I think
Um,
all of the Modern Warfares were all single player only
Yeah.
achievements.
So I did my veteran run. I always remember Mile High Club is just absolutely legendary from this game, which is like the last little epilogue you do on it, where you just got to kind of like run through an airplane. You have like on veteran, you have like a minute 15 or something like that to do it, and it's hard as dicks. So you would fail, and then you'd load back up, and you just have to try and like run through it in like a minute again, and then you get to the end. And you'd have this weird like hostage situation where you have to like
you had to get a
shoot
headshot,
them
didn't you?
free. Yeah.
Oh,
And on any other difficulty, you could cheese it and just like shoot them in the leg or something like that. And if you did it on veteran, it would come up saying real veterans get the headshot or something like that, and it would fail
yeah.
you. You'd have to start again. And you'd like,
So brutal.
and obviously back then, like I said, the internet wasn't as big, so you weren't like aware of that. Whereas nowadays, you know that would be on Twitter straight away, so
Yeah.
you'd know it. So you'd like throw your controller and have to start again. But yeah, absolutely love Call of Duty 4. Onto a game I didn't love in Grand Theft Auto 4. For some reason, I still don't really know why. I just did not get on with this game back in the day. I don't know if it's the setting or the main character or what it was. I didn't play a great deal of it. As you can see, I only got 8 out of 50 achievements, which is only 16%. I'm a massive fan of GTA 3 and GTA 5. I think they were both on my top 25 games lists. But yeah, 4, I don't know, this did not grab me at all back in the day.
I think it was
I
kind
barely
of boring.
played it.
I think that was its issue. It asked you to do a lot of like weird, monotonous stuff. Like
Yeah,
you're, like,
although I
forced to
feel
do,
like
they're all kind of like that. But you'd be like you'd get a phone
yeah,
call every 2 seconds, and then
yes, you
I
would.
don't
Yeah,
think the physics were that great as well. I don't know. I'm kind of in the same place as you. I think I have around about the same achievements as you, and I think the multiplayer was okay, and I quite enjoyed. And then beyond that, I just never got to it.
yeah.
Would
It's
love
a
a
strange
remaster
one.
though. If they did a remaster, I'd be well up to try it again.
Or even a full remake could be. I mean,
Oh
I would
yeah,
love a full remake of 3. That would
I
be
don't
the
know.
absolute dream.
It's Vice City. That's the remake we all want. Give me Vice City, please.
So I didn't play. I didn't play much
Oh,
of Vice City
you'd
or
love Vice
San
City.
Andreas.
San Andreas
on,
was too much, but Vice City
PS2.
was just 3, but with like 80s music. It's great
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty classic. Then we've got some Halo games coming up, Davey, which will get you excited, I'm sure.
Hell yeah.
I think was this your favorite Halo 3 ODST? Is this your favorite one?
No, three is my favorite one. ODST, I
Okay.
love ODST, but 3 as a whole package is a great. You can lump them together. That's basically the way to do it, isn't it, really?
Yeah, ODST it was weird, wasn't it? Because it was kind of like it wasn't at full price, if
No,
I
it was
remember correctly.
£30.
Yeah, which not a lot of games back then were.
No.
Or if they were, it was normally because there was a reason they were £30. It was normally because they were like fairly pants or something like
Yeah.
that. It's not like nowadays where you get like quite a lot of like good AA games that kind of go in at that price point.
Oh yeah, we didn't really have indies either at that time.
Yeah,
so-
exactly. So yeah, ODST, I remember it was. I think so I didn't play Halo 3 at launch. So I probably played this quite quickly after playing Halo 3, and it was quite a different game because you weren't playing as the Master Chief. You were just playing as like a normal like guy on the ground, I believe.
An ODST.
Yeah.
Ironically enough.
So you didn't have like the kind of like the superpowers you have of playing as Master Chief, and you had to jump really high and that sort of thing. But actually, when we played it fairly recently, when we did our Master Chief Collection run of it, it was good fun.
Yeah, it's and the game is weird because it's like the voice acting cast is basically the cast of Firefly,
Yes.
which was a short-lived sci-fi show at the time, which was pretty good. But
which is a cult classic now.
Yeah, like it's a great show, and ODST is one of those games. I think if you're a Halo fan, you love it because it's very much a Halo fan type of game. Because it's just three of the different scenarios really, and it's the first game that had firefight mode, which was Halo's version of Horde, and I think it didn't it have the Halo 3 multiplayer with all the map packs.
Yes.
So you were basically getting that instead of. So if you didn't buy the map packs, you were basically buying the multiplayer map packs and then getting a game free with it. So it was a good bundle. I think it was 2008 or 2009. I think it was the year after Halo 3. So
yeah, possibly.
Great.
It was weird because it didn't have its own multiplayer, like you said. It was just Halo 3 multiplayer. 2009 it was, Davey.
Nice. Look at that.
And then on to probably my favorite Halo game, which is Halo 3. Absolute classic. I remember playing this a lot, like on the campaign, especially doing like solo runs. I definitely did the hardest difficulty solo run, which was absolutely. I think there's an achievement, for doing it solo and on the hardest difficulty. Which is fairly brutal. And then I did do co-op runs because you could obviously this was a 4-player co-op game as well,
which is great. It means it was the easiest Halo game, but it was great.
Yes. Yeah, because you could literally, there'd be 4 of you. One of you would just stay back a bit, and then everyone would just respawn on that person who stayed back a bit.
Yeah.
So everyone could just like keep running in and like causing chaos and then dying and have another go and another go. Did play a little bit of campaign on Halo 3, but not a little bit of multiplayer. Sorry, of Halo 3, but not a massive amount. Halo Reach is probably the one that I played the most of, which is a couple of games up by the looks of it. But yeah, Halo 3, great game. Only 28 achievements. So I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of weird achievements that were tied into like
there's a lot of
some of the stranger game modes, I believe, as well.
Yeah, and one thing is I don't think your list has loaded all of the achievements because you didn't play it when it had multiplayer. So it says you've got 800 out of 1,000. I'm for sure I think it's 1,700 achievements in that game now.
Okay.
So I suspect that's what's happened there.
Then another classic in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, 48 out of 50.
Arguably the best one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean it's probably the best in terms of like this is like Call of Duty at its biggest as well.
Oh yeah. It
was like everywhere by the time Modern Warfare 2 came out.
A great package.
Yeah, I'd imagine the 2 achievements that I'm missing are collectibles.
Collectibles and maybe Spec Ops on the hardest setting, maybe.
No, I think we did that.
We did that, yeah. Spec Ops mode was great. Such an underrated mode as well.
Yeah, it was really cool, really different. Like I said, played the hell out there multiplayer for this. Got to like 10th prestige or whatever it was.
Nice.
And would have definitely done a veteran playthrough of that. I don't think the campaign's anywhere near as memorable as the first Modern Warfare.
No. It's got a couple missions that are quite memorable. Like the one where you're defending the house up in like the mountains. You've got to download the stuff, and you've got like the snow bike James Bond mission at the start with Soap.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not quite as memorable as the first one, but still a great game.
Yeah, I mean the maps from multiplayer were great on this as well. I think it was there's one on the airport. I can never remember what it's called.
Might just be called Airport.
Possibly.
it might be. I know the one you with like the escalators and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And going to the plane. Oh, it's good. What a game.
Great game. Another great game. Geometry Wars Retro Evolved.
Oh hell yes.
Which I mean, the original Geometry Wars was like a arcade machine on one of the PGR games.
PGR3 in your garage. You could play them.
Yeah. And then they did an actual full game from it because it was so good and so popular. Me and my friends played a lot of this. This is probably one of the only games I ever got into in terms of like getting a high score.
Yeah, there was achievements tied to that as well, which helped.
Yeah, I can't remember what my high score was back. I think it was fairly respectable. I remember like the top of the leaderboard was like mental. It was like 60 million or something like that. Yeah,
madness.
It was crazy, but yeah, it was a very good like arcadey like shoot 'em up sort of thing.
And it looks even better now with auto HDR on there. the Series X.
Yeah, they did a sequel to
They've
it as
done
well,
two
didn't they?
sequels. Yeah, two sequels.
Yeah,
I remember playing 2 and 3, and I liked them, but they were. This sounds really stupid, but they were too complicated. It was
yeah,
just
they looked great.
it was just the classic Geometry Wars setup that was so good, and it was like
Mm.
£5 as well. It was very cheap.
Yeah, there was like one game mode, I think, and it was very simple.
Yeah.
Then on to BioShock 2, which is a very underrated game. A lot of people that like really like BioShock 1 don't like BioShock 2.
Oh, we've got some audio issues with you, Craig.
Mainly, I think because the story's probably not as good. It's a little bit more generic, but it's in the same setting, and it has much better gunplay than the first one. I'm around with a wrench and smash people with a wrench, which is great. Hello?
I'm just gonna pause 1 second, people.
Have a look.
Right, sorry about that, everyone. The internet decided it wanted to shit the bed, but we're back. So, Craig, BioShock 2.
BioShock 2 broke the internet.
You said underrated game, that was it. People were like, no.
No! But yeah, BioShock 2 was great. Much better shooting than the first one. The story wasn't as great, but it was a very good little 360 game. I said very underrated. And then Halo Reach, which just about made it into our top 25, I believe. Because me and Chris both
sadly.
had it. Yeah.
Sadly, it did.
It's one that you don't like that much. I know that Ray doesn't like that much either.
Two people you respect the most in the world, Craig, as well.
Yeah.
So
The part of the reason for me it's so good is because it's the one that I played the most multiplayer on. Because I absolutely love the DMR, probably one of my favorite guns ever in a video game.
I hated the multiplayer. Hated it.
I love that gun. It's such a satisfying gun to use. It has such a thudding noise.
Yeah, dun, dun, dun. Yeah,
It's
it was
weird.
one of those. It was. I think my problem with it was the controls. I hated. I was like, oh, it's trying to be Call of Duty, but the controls are wank. But that's me.
Get 84% completion on it. Would have done. I think there was another one where there was a lone wolf kind of achievement where you had to do it on the hardest difficulty, which I managed to get, which was very, very difficult, especially at the end. I remember there's one bit at the end where you got to fight towards the big laser guns that you used to shoot down the ships.
Yes.
That was as hard as dicks.
Yeah, you get jumped by a lot of brutes, I think, like we're in like a platform. I think we did it because obviously we went and played all the Halo games apart from Halo 2 on Legendary.
Yeah. And
it's up there. It can be a very difficult game.
The AI for the elites in this game as well was pretty brutal. They were really good at, you would waste so much ammo getting their shields down, and then they would just hide and then recharge their shields.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was brutal. Like I said, definitely did a solo hardest difficulty run of that. So yeah, 84% is not bad.
Nice.
This is a weird game next, Dave. Eat Lead, The Return of Matt Hazard. I don't know if you played this.
Yeah, it's like a parody game, right?
Yes, it was a parody shooting game. It was very strange. I bought this for like £1 on eBay, I remember. Not really knowing what it was, but again, back in like these days, there was so many shooters coming out. There was like 6 shooters coming out every month because everyone was trying to be Call of Duty. So I bought this for dirt cheap. It wasn't great, if I remember rightly.
No.
So it was trying to be like a comedy game. I don't think it was that funny, in all honesty.
I think you fight the master chef at some point.
You do fight the master chef.
Yeah.
At one point you start fighting, because obviously it's a 3D game. At one point you start fighting 2D enemies for some reason. There's a part of it where it's taking the piss out of is it SOCOM or something like that? The game was called, and it gives you like water pistol guns and stuff like that, and instead of reloading them, you have to pump them up like super soakers, which is weird.
It's a classic.
Yeah. I mean, I managed to get 84% completion on it. I think I definitely did do a hardest difficulty run on it. I don't know what the achievements are like that I'm missing. Probably collectibles, I'm going to assume.
Let's just always assume that.
Yeah. And then another weird game, In Harm's Way, which is another one that they gave away, I believe.
It was another advert. I can't remember what it was an advert for. It
No.
was an advert for something, but I can't remember what it was an advert for.
I don't know why I didn't get the completion for it either, actually, because I think it was fairly similar to Dash of Destruction, where you could get the completion in like half an hour or something like that.
Yeah.
Looking at it, it's one 1 hour completion. Basically, 44% of people have done it. So that's one that actually, to be fair, if that is still free, which it looks like according to True Achievements, it still is. I could actually re-download
If you had
that.
a 360, I can't imagine that's backwards compatible.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it says backwards compatible on the
Really?
features.
Tell you what,
Yeah.
that's what you need to be streaming tonight, you know?
Yeah, for all 10 minutes of it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a guide on here somewhere which is like completed in 10 minutes. So yeah, that was an odd game. Could not tell you what you did in that. I think it was like a vehicle based, like you were like a tank or something. You drove around and shot things in the tank. I think that's what it was.
Not a clue.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you much more than that. I only got 2 achievements in it, so I obviously gave up that very quickly. Another FIFA, again, deep in the addiction at that point at FIFA 11.
Say no more. It was FIFA.
Yeah. Getting Gears of War 3. It's again another absolute classic. Love this game a lot. I've kind of fallen off of multiplayer for Gears of War at this point. So it's mainly been the campaign. I got 68% completion, 34 out of 50. I'm guessing there's probably multiplayer achievements that I didn't get.
Yeah, and there's a good 1,000 DLC achievements that you don't have loaded as well, including campaign, which is a shame because the campaign DLC was very good.
Yeah, that's the one with the General Ram.
Yes, I think it's
DLC,
called Shadow of Ram, something like that.
Yeah, I never used to play DLC back then. I used to have this weird my attitude towards DLC was I was like, if it was that good, it would have been in the main game. It's just strange.
As you look at Chris Pengelly and you say that to his face now, become everything you hate.
Yeah, but yeah, great campaign. Definitely did a solo run on the hardest difficulty. I probably did a co-op run as well with a friend on the hardest difficulty. Obviously, it's the sad one where spoilers, but someone dies.
Quite a lot of deaths, I think. There's a few deaths, if my memory serves.
Obviously, it wraps up the original trilogy as well. The ending of it was really weird. I remember. I didn't really get the ending. I was like, this is a bit strange, but yeah, it was a great game, very fun.
I think it's kind of anticlimactic in a weird way.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was
overall a great game for sure.
Yeah. Then Medal of Honor. This was like the reboot of Medal of Honor.
You're the only person I've ever met that's actually played this game.
Yeah, this game also has one of my, according to TA, is like one of my rarest, most prestigious achievements. Because it was really short. It was a really short game. It was only 4 hours long or something like that. But it had quite a few difficulty settings. And again, back then I used to play games multiple times through on all the difficulties. I think the hardest difficulty was there was no checkpoints in the level, and it was obviously harder than normal. So not a lot of people have got the achievement for completing the game on that difficulty. So I think I can't remember what it's called. It's like Conspicuous Gallantry or something like that.
Correct. That is your third highest achievement.
Yeah, which is quite cool. It's actually quite a fun little game. It was trying to be like Call of Duty, but more realistic. I think
it was like
that's what it was going for.
/ Battlefield, wasn't it?
Yeah,
which was weird because obviously EA made Battlefield. So
I think it must have had some sort of multiplayer as well, but that died a death.
Yeah, it
instantly.
was called. It was in the midst of the one-use code shenanigans.
Yeah,
I think it was called Tier 1.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah, it's actually kind of underrated. I think both of the Medal of Honor games are actually kind of underrated of the reboots, but
yeah, it was really fun. It was. I think I remember reviews from the time, but main thing was because it was 4 hours long.
Yeah, it was quite generic as well. It was you just go to the Arab countries and you shoot Arabs. That was basically what you did. That was it. That was the whole plot.
Yeah. Then on to Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, which for me was weird because obviously I didn't have a original Xbox, so I never played Halo 1 and Halo 2 back in the day. Yes. So obviously for me going back and play, because this was the first one where you would press the back button and it would have modern day graphics that they'd updated, or you could go back to the original OG graphics.
Yeah.
But other than that, the gameplay was exactly the same, I believe.
Kind of. It was on the Reach engine, but they didn't add all the Reach shenanigans.
Yeah.
So you didn't have all the power armor shit or the
no.
But yeah.
So yeah, for me going back and playing that was quite weird because I had I had no nostalgia for that. So obviously I would get levels like the library, is it the one where you're just fighting through the same 3 corridors? and be like, what on earth is going
And it
on
was
here?
like
Why have
way
they done
better
this?
on this than it was in the original, because you could just play with the new graphics and there was arrows on the floor. It was in the original,
Yes.
it was all at the same.
Yeah. Again, we obviously did a rerun of this on the MCC, didn't we?
We did.
Which was good fun playing in co-op actually, because it makes levels like that a little bit more bearable when you have someone there with you, experiencing the endless corridors.
Yeah, and Halo 1 is a classic game. So it's one of these like playing a classic game but better. And it's another one that had I think the multiplayer was just the Reach multiplayer with Halo 1 maps.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah, and it was good. It was good fun. It was good to go back to Blood Gulch and places like that you hadn't been for a couple of games. Even I liked the Reach multiplayer for that.
Don't think I did any of the multiplayer for it. I think the achievements that I got looking at it is 57% and 25 out of 44. I think I basically just did the campaign. I did it on the hardest difficulty, and that was pretty much it. I didn't touch the multiplayer at all, so that's probably the achievements I'm missing are all multiplayer linked, I'm going to imagine.
Yeah.
Or like skulls and stuff like that, because I wouldn't have done the skulls back in the day. Then on to Rage, which was like id's like big game back at the time, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And it was trying to be like a Mad Max style game, if I remember rightly. It was a first-person shooter.
It was realistic Borderlands.
Yeah. And you had like car combat, and you would like drive around on your car, and you'd stop off and then go into the missions. It was really good. I'd actually prefer that to Rage 2, which we obviously got fairly recently. Again, looking at the achievements, 31 out of 50 and 62%. I did the hardest difficulty playthrough. I wouldn't have done collectibles or anything like that, so that's probably the achievements I'm missing again. But yeah, great game.
Hugely ambitious, I think, was the
yes,
was the
definitely.
way to, I think, but it was I agree with you. It was a pretty good game.
On to not a good game, Dead Rising 2.
Just all the
I
fanboys coming for you.
bought this for very cheap, if I remember correctly, from like Game or Game Station. I played it once and then think I took it back and sold it the next day. It was awful. As we get onto, I love Dead Rising 3, which was a launch game for the Xbox One. This was nowhere near that. All I remember was it was in a mall, and like the missions I think were like timed. You had to do them in a certain time or something like that.
That was the first game, I think.
No, I think 2 is pretty much the same. I think it's in the mall again.
All I remember about 2 is that you start on like a motorbike with like chainsaws attached to it in like an arena. That's all I remember about Dead Rising 2.
Possibly.
You drive around. That's it. It's like the first mission. You drive around in this like arena and you kill zombies, and that's it. So it could well be in a mall, but obviously I'm much like you, didn't think much of it.
No, I remember like very much like the map wasn't that big, and every time you would like leave the mall, go into a different part of the mall, it was like a minute-long cutscene.
Oh really?
Yeah, yeah, it was awful. I think I played it for about half an hour, and then abandoned that.
And now it's
quickly.
on your achievements.
Yes, yes. If it's 2% completion, which is awful. Onto a much better game, another very much underrated game, In the Darkness 2. This was awesome. This was a first-person shooter, but you had these like 2 demon arms as well. So you'd have your normal arms holding your gun, shooting people, and you could use your 2 big demon arms to like pick people up and like execute them, or pick like stuff up and throw it at people. I think you could pick up like car doors and use car doors as shields and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think so.
You played as a mob boss, I think, from the mafia. He was trying to save
called
his girlfriend
Jackie because
the
arms tell you that you're called
Yes.
Jackie all the time.
Yes, they do. It was a great game, very underrated. It nearly it was one of those that like just missed out on my top 25.
It has one of the best opening levels of like any game.
Yeah,
Where the car crashes through the restaurant. Right at the
Yes.
beginning, and
Yeah.
and you're it's so good. But yeah, did you play the first one?
no, I didn't.
Oh, no.
I didn't know anything about the first one. I've just randomly played this because I remember seeing a trailer for it and seeing the big demon arms and be like, that looks very cool.
Absolute cult classic series. It's actually strange to me that we never got a Darkness 3, to be honest. But
Yeah, that would be awesome if they did something like that.
Yeah.
Just like that sort of thing nowadays. The things they could do with that would be incredible.
with physics engines now, it'd be crazy.
Yeah, just looking at it, it's published by 2K Games. So if they still own that, bring it back.
Yeah, if not THQ, where are you?
Yeah, definitely. But again, 28 out of 50 and 56% completion. So again would have done the story on the hardest difficulty and then sorted off the collectibles like normal. And again, as you can see, this is like, again, there's so many shooters being made back then because we next have Crysis 2, which was the first Crysis on console, I believe.
Yes.
I actually really liked Crysis 2 and Crysis 3, which I'm sure will be somewhere here in a minute. They were kind of quite cool games. You had like your power suit and you kind of level it up, and you had like, I think it's an invisibility ability and stuff like that, so you could sneak past a lot of the enemies.
That was a big part of 2, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, you could also choose it quite easily, in the sense that you would like put your invisibility on, and then you sneak past a load of dudes, hide behind a rock, wait for your ability to recharge, turn invisible again, sneak past a load of dudes. I think that's how I did the hardest difficulty run, if I remember correctly, because it was pretty difficult of a game. But it was a very solid first-person shooter. This is obviously back in Call of Duty's heyday when everyone was just making first-person shooters. Like nowadays, everyone's making like Soulsborne sort of games and that sort of thing, aren't they? But back then, like if you wanted your game to actually be played and sell well, you made it a first-person shooter. And this was a very solid first-person shooter. Then FIFA Street, Davey. I have no recollection of this one at all. I'm not sure if this is the one that was really jokey and it had like Peter Crouch was like 8 foot tall. Because I remember one of them did that.
I think it was 3, but don't quote me because I haven't played this, because obviously those games haven't been a thing for years.
I don't think I played this that much. It says I've got 39 out of 34 and 38.
That's completion. One session, 100%.
Yeah. No recollection of that at all. Then Homefront, again, deep in first-person shooter territory right now. This was quite cool actually because it was based in America, I think, and it was as if you just lost the war to Korea and Korea had like taken over America, and you were part of like the resistance to like try and win America back, which is quite different because everything else was set and like you said, everything else you were in the Arab countries trying to kill terrorists and that sort of thing. So it's different to actually be on like the back foot.
It's very post 9/11 game design at the time.
Yeah, definitely. It was a weird one because it was actually, I remember even for the 360, this game didn't look great, and I don't think it ran great either.
I feel like it was the Time Splitters devs, if my memory serves
possibly.
me.
But because the story was like so different, and like it was quite engaging, I think I actually liked it quite a lot, considering, like I said, it didn't look like a great game.
No.
And it didn't play like, compared to like the silky smoothness of like Modern Warfare 2 at the time, this was nowhere near that. But yeah, I definitely did.
In the end?
No, I think this is the only one I played, unless we get to the sequel somewhere on this list that I've forgotten about.
I'm told good things about both games, so.
Yeah, but I would definitely 35 out of 47 and 74% completion. Would have done a hard playthrough of that, definitely. And then one I think you just recently bought, Davey, Vanquish, which I'd be intrigued to know your thoughts of when you play it, because this is a very 360 sort of game, in the sense that it's very like gameplay heavy. The story for this is awful. It is hilariously bad.
Yeah, that's Platinum Games, my friend. That's what they do.
The cutscenes were just, I mean, you probably laugh at them nowadays. Very generic, but the actual gameplay itself was really cool. It's like a third-person shooter, but it had really cool movement mechanics where you, instead of like just like hiding behind cover for a third-person shooter and then peeking out and shooting, you'd be sliding all over the place. And it was all about like movement and dodging. I think it had some melee in it as well. So it's one of those where the gameplay itself was great, but like I said, the actual story was like pretty woeful. It's very futuristic. I'm pretty sure that one of the other cool things about it was like you'd be sliding around fighting these massive like mechs and bosses and that sort of things, and there'd be like loads of stuff going on in the background. If I remember correctly, there'd be like all sorts of explosions going on in the sky and that sort of thing. I actually got 90% on this one, which I'm surprised I got that much, 45 out of 50. Definitely would have done a hardest playthrough on that, I would have thought.
I think you have to do a playthrough without dying. I think that might be one of the ones you're missing.
That probably is it then. Yeah, I don't do that sort of thing.
No.
That's even too hardcore for me, even back then.
I think you can cheese it, but you'd have to know that going in.
Oh, you can. You're right. I've recently watched Ray do it, I think.
Yeah, you have to basically dashboard every time you die, or something like that.
Every time you die, you dashboard, then reload, and you can do it like that. You're right. So that would be part of what I'm missing, I'm sure, in those 5 achievements.
If they did the remaster, the remaster did come to Xbox, didn't it?
What, the one
I bought? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, if it's ever a $5, Craig's all in.
Yeah, it's a fun game, but it's a very 360 game.
Yeah.
In how it was made and how it played. Another Tiger Woods game, deep in Tiger Woods obsession at this point. No 9. That could say any number. They're all pretty much the same.
It's golf.
Yeah. Another underrated game though, Davey, in Max Payne 3. This was Rockstar, I believe, and this is the one where you play as drunk, like older Max Payne.
I always call it Stone Cold Max Payne.
Yes.
That's how I always view that game.
It's quite a weird game because obviously there's not many games where you play as like an alcoholic. It's portrayed like
it's not enough games to play as alcoholics.
It's portrayed in like quite a negative way. It had a really cool story. I remember that, and it was like a third-person shooter. Obviously, you had the Max Payne mechanics of being able to like slow down time, and you'd be like, slow down time, and then you'd like jump, and you'd be like flying through the air, like trying to headshot these enemies. It's very solid. Again, it's one of those that on my like original draft, my top 25, I had this in, but when I kind of like re-looked for everything I played, it kind of like slipped down. But yeah, it was a great game. It has 20 out of 46.
It has
achievements.
A horrible achievement. Where is it?
Yes, it does.
I think it's New York Minute. So you have to like finish the game in a certain time.
Yes.
And it's 100 Gs, it's a 631 ratio game achievement, which is brutal.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. I think I did do like just a normal hardest playthrough run of it, but yeah, I definitely wouldn't have done like a no death run.
You have a life, just about.
And then on to sort of a change of pace in Rayman Origins. This was the first of the like 2D Rayman games.
The two UbiArt games.
Yeah, really like this. Played this a lot. Can't remember a massive amount of it, other than obviously it was a 2D platformer. I managed to get 19 out of 36 and 53%. So that's not bad. In fairness, I'm not a massive platformer guy. I'm not great at those sorts of games, but it was very fun.
Yeah, both the Rayman games are pretty fun. Yeah, I wondered what the cat noise was, and now I know. Cat's a big Rayman fan.
Definitely. He's appeared at the right time. Then FIFA 12, again, FIFA addiction, 31 out of 45. Football. Yeah. 69% though, Davey.
Oh, hell yeah.
Another underrated Xbox 360 game in Spec Ops: The Line. This was a third-person shooter. It played very, very similar to Gears of War, but it was a modern military shooter as opposed to like a sci-fi alien sort of thing. It was set in Dubai after like sandstorms had like buried the whole like country. It had a really cool, quite dark story as well.
It did.
Oh my god, my cat has just jumped on my laptop.
Nice. Just throw that cat away. No one can see.
He's gone. Yeah, it was a great game. It had some really dark moments in it as well, if I remember correctly.
Its own marketing killed it. It's funny. Like, the big twist of the game is this is the reason it didn't sell well. Because it sort of shows itself, and it's named like it's a really generic game, and then it's definitely not. And that's the reason it didn't sell well, because you have to kind of like, if you said to me, "Oh, do you want to play this game, Spec Ops: The Line?" I'd be like, dude, that couldn't have been more generic unless it was Medal of Honor Warfighter. You know what I mean? It's like, it sounds so generic, but the whole point was that it looks and sounds generic, and then the big twist happens, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, it was an awful name, and it felt a bit like it was ripping off, because obviously Spec Ops mode was in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 at this point. So it felt a bit like, oh, it's just ripping that off, and then you actually play it, and it's a completely different game.
It's one of those games, like, I'm with you. I highly recommend to like everyone.
Just looking at the 2 achievements I'm missing on that, it's one of them's recoverable intel items, so collectibles,
Oh hell yeah!
and the other was complete any chapter with 60% accuracy without dying or reloading a checkpoint, which is actually not that hard looking at it. So I
So
obviously
you were
was just
just
spraying
rubbish,
and
clearly.
yeah, yeah, definitely, because it's not got that big of a ratio. But yeah, I would have done multiple playthroughs of that and got the hardest difficulty and all that sort of thing. Then an absolute classic completion in Doritos Crash Course. Me and my friends played the absolute hell out of this game.
It's another
We used to
another
do
free Doritos advert.
yes, we used to do like tournaments of it, where we would like go through all the races and then write down who had won and then figure out who had won the overall tournament and stuff like that.
I love it.
Yeah, we were massively into this game. Obviously, got the completion of it. It's only 200 Gs, which is an absolute travesty. This game is only 200 Gs. Looks like it's quite an easy completion nowadays, although only
I'd
7%
imagine it
of
is.
people have it. It's absolute travesty, Dave. This has only got a 3.11 on True Achievements. I gave it a 5 out of 5, obviously.
Some people just don't like Doritos. That's what we're learning.
I always swear by the True Achievements like user ratings, but they've let me down this time.
Love it.
Then on to Halo 4, which is, I think me and you kind of rediscovered when we played it quite recently. One of the like most underrated Halo games.
Yes, it has a bad ending, and that's it.
Everyone
really, for
thinks
me.
this is bad, and it's really not.
Yeah, its final boss is kind of wank. That's really my only downside. I think the
I think-
gunplay feels great.
I think it was like Pete's favorite 360 game when we did the podcast with Pete, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
Pete loved Halo 4. The multiplayer is really good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those games. It's trendy to hate it because it isn't Bungie, and it was
Yep.
the first non-Bungie game. But I think it was fine. I think it was as good as Reach, personally. But
Yeah, definitely. I think so. The story was not as good, which is probably mainly why people don't like it. But the actual gunplay on it was awesome.
yeah, and it was beautiful for a 360 game as well.
Yes, I think it was also
It was one of
maybe
the
the one
last.
where they tried to Call of Duty it up a bit, and I
Oh,
think
yeah, it
people
felt-
didn't like that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. So the problem with Reach that I had was it was half Call of Duty, whereas this
Yeah.
they were like, fuck it, let's just make it all Call of Duty, and it felt good. But yeah, you've got a good level of completion on there as well, which is always good to see.
Yeah, I'm just looking at what I can get as well, and it is. It's weirdly enough, I must have just played this game on my own because I basically haven't got the co-op achievements, which
Like,
is
you
all I'm
ever
missing.
buy that game for like £3 or whatever, I will happily do a co-op run because I need those achievements as well.
And the Spartan Ops, which I can't remember what that was. I think
So
that might have
Spartan
been-
Ops was because we actually started playing it on the MCC with Chris, is a downloadable like expansion, but the missions
Oh,
were
yes.
the missions were basically like horde mode, weirdly.
Yeah, it was like wave based, wasn't it? I
Yeah, but it
remember
had
now.
like story cutscenes, and it was like an episodic downloadable thing they tried. But I think we still need to do that on MCC. I think it's one of the few things that we need to do.
Yeah, probably. One of the like, as we'll get to it eventually,
Oh,
the 700 achievements on that game.
Yeah, sweet Jesus.
Oh, I climbed on with the cat again. Next up is a game that did make my top 25 in Dishonored. This is the only arcade game I've actually ever played, and I really liked it, and I've just weirdly not played anymore. It was a kind of like a stealth game, but it was kind of advertised as you could play it how you want, and it was one of the few games where you really could actually play it how you want. Like, you could just run around murdering people, and you had lots of crazy abilities that you could do. Like you had a teleport ability. You could possess rats, I believe, and like
There was a lot of
stealth
rats.
around. I think you could possess fish as well. Really cool. It was also like that kind of is like steampunk, I'm guessing you'd probably call it, was like massive back then, and it had that kind of art style and aura of it, which I think probably helped its popularity quite a bit. Got the 31 out of 50 and the 62%. There was achievements for like doing a run where you didn't kill a single person, which I actually managed to get, which is weird because I normally hate stealth, which kind of says how good the game is.
Yeah.
But it was really cool because it would like you had to like do like side missions, I think, in order to get that ending and to get that achievement, because like the side missions would open up like new ways of getting rid of people as opposed to killing them, which is like really cool, especially for at the time on the 360.
And now it's on Game Pass.
Yeah. An absolute classic, David, Minecraft
Oh,
Xbox
God.
360 edition. So this isn't the one that we obviously played.
No, God, no.
There must be another Minecraft on my list eventually. This is obviously the original one on the 360. 400 Jesus had for some reason.
Yeah, I think it had
Obviously, we've
DLC,
moved away
I
from
guess.
200 at this point. Again, it's Minecraft. I played it a little bit. I don't think I played a massive amount. I remember me and my friend from college had like our own world, and we built like a castle or something like that. Like that's pretty much what everyone does on Minecraft, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
14 out of 20. Yeah, it's not bad. 70%. It's okay, isn't it? Another golf game, Tiger Woods PGA Tour.
I think it was that last one.
No idea.
I feel like that was the last Tiger Woods, if my memory serves me. I feel like the next one was Rory McIlroy.
Possibly. And then Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. I think this is kind of when I stopped dropping off of Call of Duty. I always get confused as to what the last one I played properly was.
Definitely didn't, looking higher up your list.
Okay.
There's at least one more where you played a lot.
Yeah, although I think that might have come out before it. So,
Trying to think, because this always throws me off because the order is just weird because I was at college. Like, I was at university, so it must have gone Modern Warfare 3 then Black Ops 1, right? That must have been the order.
So it
All the
looks
other way
like
around.
it was Modern Warfare 3 in 2011, then Black Ops 2 in 2012. So
So it
Black
must
Ops
have
2
Yeah.
was probably the last one that I played a lot, actually. Yeah, you're right. I definitely didn't I must have played some of the multiplayer for this game, but I definitely didn't do my normal like shenanigans when I was addicted to Cold Bar. I was like 10th prestige. I think they might have 15 prestiges at this point because more is always better, Dave.
Of course.
But I definitely did the camp. I went for a stage where even when I'd finished playing Call of Duty for the multiplayer, I would still buy the games just for the campaign and beat them on veteran in like a week and sell them. Just because that's great fun for me.
Yeah.
So that's probably what most of the achievements are. I don't know what I'm missing, but yeah, probably collectibles.
Probably collectibles, great.
Then we have Assassin's Creed 3, which was, again, not a great Assassin's Creed game. It's actually weird when you think about it that I stuck with Assassin's Creed, considering the first two that I played weren't good.
No.
In this one and one, probably some of the worst ones, other than obviously Unity, which we won't go into.
We'll get to that
later. We'll have to go into eventually. Yeah. Assassin's Creed 3 was the Native American one.
Yes.
It had one of the worst starts to a game ever.
Had one of the best marketing campaigns as well, which is annoying.
Yes. It felt like the tutorial on this game went on for ages.
I think it was 10 hours long.
Yeah.
And I'm not even joking. I'm not even taking the piss. I think it was a 10-hour long. By the time you actually got the hood on, it was a good 10 hours into the game.
Yeah. I persevered for those 10 hours. I punished myself for it because you start off, you're not even playing as the main character to start off with, and then you start as the main character when he's like really young or something like that.
And the main character sucks.
You learn how to hunt. Yeah. Yeah, it's Connor, is it?
It is Connor.
Yeah. It did kind of pave the way for Black Flag though, and it started with the ship combat and started with the ship stuff, which on this game was like not very good and felt really out of place. And then when you play Black Flag, you're like, maybe that's why they put it in to kind of like pave the way for it.
Yeah, it had a lot of ideas, 3, and then it was just better in the games afterwards. Like stuff like the weird like RTS like Battlefield stuff you would do. You'd basically run over to like a load of dudes and press a button next to them, and then they'd fire cannons and stuff like that. And the hunting was like okay. You had like tree running and stuff, but the setting was like the setting and the advertising were like the best thing about the game. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. Again, 28 out of 50 and 56% isn't bad. Then.
It's not. It's solid. It's a very solid effort for such a game.
Then Crisis 3, which is very similar to Crisis 2.
But you had a bow.
Yes, you did have a bow.
That was the big thing. You had a bow.
Again, you also had invisibility, which was OP. So you would just, skip a load of enemies on the hardest difficulty and then move on.
We've lost Craig. There we go. So we're back now. Sorry about all this random internet shenanigans. So Craig was talking about Crisis 3, the invisibility and the bow.
Yeah, pretty much Crisis 2, in all honesty. But it was Crisis 3.
And then
Again,
EA
you
didn't
basically
try again.
abused the invisibility ability and got the hardest difficulty achievements like that. Lego Lord of the Rings. I basically bought this with a friend thinking that we could do online co-op, I think, and then we realized we couldn't do online co-op.
Of course not.
Because it was only couch co-op. So I think I was like, oh, I've bought it now, I'll play it for a bit. But at this point, I was pretty burnt out of the Lego games because I played a lot of the Star Wars ones on PS2 with my brother. And obviously playing them on your own is quite boring anyway, and it just they're mainly co-op games. So I think we were just disappointed that we couldn't play it on like online together. Worms is one of my completions. I think this is weird because I think I got the last achievement on this. Like it just randomly popped. I'm guessing it was glitched or something like that, and it popped like 5 years later. So on like the stats, it says that this is like my little game that took me the longest to complete. But I think that's literally because some sort of weird glitch happened. But
Great
obviously,
game,
it's classic Worms. Yeah, classic Worms, 2D Worms. Played it quite a lot with my friends, just in the versus mode. And like I think it's there was some sort of weird glitch. Yeah, there's like I'm just looking now. There's like 11 years between when I started it and when I got the completion, which is strange. I don't even think I had to load it up. I think it just randomly popped.
Yeah, I've had that a few times with achievements, especially on the Xbox One, where I'd just be like, in the middle of the night, it'd be like, oh, by the way, remember that game you played 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Here's a trophy. And you're like, oh, what? Excuse me?
Strange. On to another great game. And Tomb Raider, which was the reboot. This game was on my top 25. I think it might have been quite near the bottom, though, so it didn't make the overall list.
On yours, yeah.
I really love these games. The whole trilogy is great. I think looking at the achievements, we got 31 out of 50 and 62%.
There's a lot of multiplayer achievements.
Yeah. I definitely didn't play any of the multiplayer. I can't imagine it was great.
It was actually okay. I have a couple of them. I have a couple of the multiplayer achievements for the definitive edition.
I think it was quite popular for like a bit.
For a little bit, it was. It's another one that's aggressively okay.
Yeah, it felt kind of like a bit tacked on, but I think it was like playable. But yeah, the main campaign was great. Just looking at some of the random stuff that I'm missing now, it is multiplayer. Looking at it, survive 10 explosions in multiplayer and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so you basically just like swung around on ropes, throwing shit at each other. It was great fun.
Then we have Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 together. Don't know why they're next to each other. I'd obviously loaded one up.
Yeah, I'm guessing you got nostalgic for 1 after playing 2. That's my only guess.
Yeah. Got decent, very good 91% on the first Black Ops and 66 on the second one. Black Ops 1, I think I played a lot of the multiplayer. I think I got the 15th Prestige or something like that. Probably one of the better Call of Duty multiplayers as well. Had awesome guns. Had every assault rifle in that game was like really good, if I remember correctly. I'd like the Galil and stuff like that, if you can remember those guns.
Black Ops 1 is like one of my biggest blank spots in Call of Duty because I was at university and I just didn't buy games.
And then Black Ops 2, I think I was saying that's probably where I fell off COD.
I think it's the last great one, in my opinion. Certainly the old era.
I can't remember anything from the multiplayer of that game. But then I do struggle. All
the
maps.
There was a really good multiplayer map on a ship in Black Ops 2. Like you were just on a ship, and it was like
yachts.
Yeah, I think so.
Really small. Yeah,
and I think there's a couple of like really good multiplayer maps. Black Ops 2 is like my last one that I really enjoyed, to be honest.
Was that the first one that they did the dolphin dive as well, where you'd be running instead of drop shotting, you would do a weird dolphin dive?
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. It also had like all of the like classic modes. It had like gun game and stuff like sticks and stones and stuff like that, which was cool. And obviously zombies and all the good stuff.
But yeah, obviously more Call of Duty. Would have done the campaign on Veteran, and then obviously a little bit of multiplayer for both of them.
More
Black Ops 1 and 2. Halo Infinite was a kind of
strange
game.
BioShock Infinite, Craig. You're the Freudian slip there to say Halo Infinite. Got that game 10 years early.
BioShock Infinite is an odd one. Because it wasn't in Rapture. It was set on this like city in the clouds, if I remember rightly.
The name is at the tip of my tongue as well.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called now. It really. I remember it like the best like AI companion that anyone had done at the
Yeah,
time in Elizabeth.
Miss Elizabeth, as I like to call her, as I'm
Yes.
playing the game.
Um, she would do like all sorts of cool stuff. She'd like throw you guns, and she could open up tears, which would make like more cover available to you, or stuff like that, or like send enemies like flying and weird stuff like that. Really fun game. Think I probably did do a like a hardest difficulty run, looking at the achievements. 39 out of 50, and 78 overall. So let's see what I'm missing out of interest. In the main campaign, there's campaign. Yeah, it looks like I got there. Looks like I got the hardest playthrough on that one. It's probably like getting towards the end of 360 is probably where I stopped doing like hardest difficulties on every game.
Yeah.
Then Fable 3. This game was awful. Absolutely awful. This was the first Games for Gold, but it kind of wasn't in a weird way, I believe. This
Yeah,
is the one where they made it
like
free, but they didn't
pre-announced
tell
it, but
anyone.
yeah, it was like, oh yeah, it's going to be free, and then it was free like a week before.
Yeah. I think actually, I think everyone they made it free. Everyone downloaded it, and then there was a weird thing where it was like, did we just steal this game? Should we have done that?
Are we going to get banned?
And then like a week later, they're like, "Oh no, this is the new thing we're doing. This is Games for Gold." And you're like, "Oh, okay." Did they like put it on too early by accident? I finished the main story in it, I believe. I persevered through it, even though it was really bad. It's kind of quite a linear. It's strange. So spinning it as a big like open world RPG, and wasn't that. It was this weird like quite linear game. Obviously got 20 out of 50 and 40%, so I did okay. But yeah, that was an odd game, really strange one. Trials Evolution. I don't think I liked that. Oh no, was this the second one? Was it HD? Was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Evolution's the second one.
Yeah, I always get the names confused. I think we've talked about this in the pod before.
Yeah.
This is the one that I actually liked the most, probably played the most. I only got 6 achievements out of 20 though, so I'm going to imagine the achievements were fairly brutal.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Because the game was actually quite difficult.
I think there was multiplayer achievements in Evolution.
Find every squirrel location hidden away in secret corners of the world and stuff like that.
Yeah,
complete any extreme track I didn't get. And there was actually DLC as well, which I definitely wouldn't have played. Quite a bit of DLC as well, actually, well next to it. But yeah, it was a Trials game. It was really fun. I think I did play the one after this, and then that was the only two that I really played. I don't think I played HD. Oh, I definitely didn't play HD because it hasn't come up before. Then Limbo, Dave, which was a 2D like puzzle game made by the same people that made Inside, I believe.
Correct. That game company, I think they're called.
Developer Playdead, they're called apparently.
Oh, then that game company make Journey. It's always one or the other that I get confused. It's the artsy fartsy indie games I get confused with.
Yeah, it's a really cool puzzle game. In fairness to it, only 200G though, which is a bit criminal.
Yeah, it's another arcade game.
Yeah, because obviously it was the Xbox One when they changed it, I believe.
Yes.
To 1000G.
That's why every game has 1000G, no matter how easy or difficult it is.
Yeah, I'm missing one achievement. Complete the game in one sitting with 5 or less deaths. That's why I didn't get that, because that sounds brutal.
Yeah, that sounds like a no from me.
This is also weird because it had like weird deaths that you get where like you'd just be walking forward and you just fall into a pit, but because it like reloaded straight away, you'd then be like, oh no, I need to like run and jump over that pit.
Yeah.
So like you'd have to like memorize everything to get that achievement, I guess. So yeah, that is. I mean, it's got a ratio of 4.1, so it's quite a difficult one. But it's a great game, very very good game. Another Tugwoods game. PGA 414, so it wasn't for him.
No, it must be 15. It was some point he stops. Some point Tiger ends it.
Some controversy happens.
Yeah, he did some things.
Then Bulletstorm, which was People Can Fly, I believe.
Correct.
Which is the people that made Outriders. This was a weird, kind of like a it was like first-person Gears of War, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And it was a weird game because it was more about playing with your food as opposed to actually eating your food.
It was style, right? That was his big thing.
Yeah. Which was cool because it was like a good USP that no one else was doing, but it got a bit like, I just want to kill people. I don't really want to have to like flip them up and then slash through them, then shoot them. I just want to shoot them in the head or whatever. Yeah, it's a fun game. Obviously, Clanfly went on to make other stuff, which we will get into. Doritos Crash Course Skill only got 4 achievements in this, Dave.
That's shameful.
Ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. Only got 14% on this one.
Seems like it's quite hard as well, looking at the 1,000 TA score that it's got for a 400-point game.
Yeah, it's rated slightly better than Doritos Crash Course 1, though, in 3.12.
They must have taken what they learned, you know?
Yeah, I don't think I played this one very much. I think they maybe overcomplicated it a bit or something like that, and maybe the fun of it had worn off by then.
People didn't want to buy Doritos anymore. That's where we were.
Yeah, probably. Then we go back to Assassin's Creed 2, which was one of the after Fable was one of the first big games for gold, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so.
Which was at the time the best Assassin's Creed game I would have played, because 1 and 3 obviously I didn't like very much. This is really good. I didn't play the other 2 as part of the Ezio ones. I can't remember what they're called.
Brotherhood and Revelations.
That's it. But yeah, great game. Assassin's Creed. Would have finished it, got 34 out of 50 and 68%, which is
it's quite an easy completion. From what I believe, I think even the collectibles aren't too bad.
Let me have a look. It's good. It's got 24% of people have completed it, so yeah, it must be.
Yeah, it's one of those games I know. It's usually like people's first completion whenever you watch these type of
videos. Other than Dash of Destruction, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. No. I actually think I haven't completed that game. I think I need like 2 achievements. I think I need to turn my 360 on and just play it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a stream next time you come up.
20 hours, 25 hours, they reckon.
Yeah, it's doable. But obviously, if you're going to play that now, you'd play the Ezio collection. You wouldn't play the 360 version.
You wouldn't play the original. Then we have Alan Wake, which means... Was Alan Wake 360?
It was 360. There's a very clear indicator when you get to Xbox One, Craig. This is a little spoiler for what's going to happen in about 10 minutes. We're probably going to stop and do a second video that says Xbox One achievements, as we're on an hour and a half just on 360. But Alan Wake was a 360 game.
Alan Wake, 360 game. It was Remedy. It was a really awesome flashlight. You run around with your flashlight. You had to burn the enemies, and then you could shoot them once you burn the darkness off of them or something like that.
Yes.
It was a little bit spooky, so I can't imagine you played a great deal of it.
I played a little bit of it. It's not for me.
No, there's a lot of running around in the woods, if I remember correctly, in the dark with your flashlight.
It's episodic, isn't it, as well, in a weird way?
Yeah, it was. It was all about a writer on it, so it was written in chapters and that sort of thing. It's really cool for the time. Then next up we have Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, which was a completion, Davey.
Oh, hell yeah.
Only 400G, obviously, because this was on the 360. This is it Hazelight or Hazellight? This is the guys that did A Way Out and
It Takes Two.
It Takes Two recently. Although it's actually called Starbreeze Studios here, so...
was it still Starbreeze were a classic developer? They made loads of stuff, I believe.
Maybe it was just the same. Is it Joseph Fares? Maybe
maybe his old studio before it was at EA.
Yeah. Maybe he formed it after this. It was a really fun game. It was a co-op game, but I didn't play it co-op. So instead, I would control both brothers at the same time, and you would control one using the left analog stick and one using the right analog stick, which was a bit of a hard thing for your brain to take in, trying to control 2 characters at once using 2 different sticks, different thumbs. But it was a really fun puzzle game, basically, with quite a cool story, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Fear 3 was the co-op Fear game, I think.
Yes, it was the shooter Fear game.
Yeah, it was much less about the horror and much more just about it being a co-op game. I think one of you played a guy that was just a military guy that shot, and then you played his brother. He was a ghost.
Yeah, he could possess people and use powers and stuff. Yeah,
that was it. Yeah, I played this with someone on co-op. Obviously, looks like only 15 out of 50 achievements, only 30%. So I think we probably only did 1 playthrough of this. Looking at it, doesn't look like we did a hard playthrough or anything like that. But it was a fun game. FIFA 13, another FIFA game.
FIFA.
And then One that you wouldn't expect is Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Blacklist. It's a stealth game, which for someone like me that doesn't play stealth games is quite strange. But this was really, really quite fun and really stylish, if I remember correctly, as well.
Yeah, it's definitely the least stealthy of the Splinter Cell games.
Yes, you could kind of get away with going a little bit chaotic with this.
It's the last Splinter Cell game as well, ironically.
Yeah, it is, and it was actually really good. It had that weird thing where instead of having like UI, it would like show you, it would tell you what to do in text, but it would be like part of the world, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very fun, very good stealth game. Like I said, for me to play it, it's not a big stealth guy. It kind of says how good it is.
Yeah, definitely.
And then this will be the first time Grand Theft Auto 5 is on this list because I bought this on the 360 and on the Xbox One. Will I buy it on the Xbox Series X? Will remain to be seen.
It's on Game Pass. You won't need to.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, 20 out of 49. The achievements for this game sucked, if I remember correctly. They were like, you had to like go around in a submarine and get alien parts out of the like ocean, if I remember correctly. And the ocean was huge in this game because it was like all the way around the whole island, obviously. But the actual game was great. The 360 version was weird because, especially for me, I didn't have one of the like elite 360s. I just had one of like the base like models from like launch, so it really struggled with this game.
Yeah, I had a similar experience.
Yeah, this is right at the end of the 360 gen, which is obviously genius from Rockstar because it meant they could release it twice and everyone bought it twice.
Yeah,
it
didn't launch with online. That came like a couple of months later as well, and you had to get
I think it quite a while later, didn't it? It was like 6 months later. 6 months.
I remember there being a big thing because I think I was working at this point, and it was a big thing that you could use a like USB drive to like install it, and so like you'd have parents come in and try and buy like 16 gig USB sticks for their kids' 360s. And it was chaos.
Was it multiple discs? Chaos.
Yeah, it was 2 discs, and you had a big install disc first.
Yeah,
and then you had to play it. It was like 10, 15 gig install, which was massive at the time.
Yeah, like I said, it just about made it on the 360.
Yeah, like how they made it run is insane, really, to be honest.
Yeah, and sometimes it barely ran, if I remember right.
Yeah, it was load for a month.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. It would take like you would turn this on and you could go make a cup of tea before you come back. You could go
and buy a takeaway, eat the takeaway. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those.
It was a weird one. And then we had The Walking Dead, which was the first Telltale game, I think.
The first of it wasn't their first game. It was their first popular one.
Yeah,
they did Jurassic Park and Back to the Future and Sam and Max and stuff first.
This was obviously, I think this was episodic, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. You're missing an achievement, which is baffling. Yes. So I think you just have to finish the game, unless it's the DLC.
I'm looking to see what I've missed.
I think the 400 Days DLC maybe.
Yes. Won a game of rock paper scissors. That was what I missed because you basically had to just keep reloading a certain episode and playing rock paper scissors until you got it. But you had to play for like 10, 15 minutes to get to that, I believe. And I think I did it. I think I tried it like twice, and then gave up, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I kind of dropped off the Telltale games quite quickly. I played this and maybe 1 or 2 others, then gave up. I did really like that one. I would have played The Walking Dead 2 on the Xbox One, but I was really disappointed because you couldn't carry over your save from the 360.
No, so you'd have to replay the
exactly
the Xbox One. I know it's not a long game, but
no, so your choices wouldn't carry over, which is kind of why I never played into Walking Dead games after that. Then FIFA, which is obviously FIFA, been the last one I played in the 360.
It was.
And then Guitar Heroes 3, Legends of Rock, I barely played. Mainly because if I wanted to play Guitar Hero back then, I would have just played Guitar Hero 2 on my PlayStation 2 because that was the one that I preferred. And it had the SG controller, which I liked a lot more than the modern controllers they did for it.
I think it was a Les Paul for 3.
Yes, it was the white one, I think.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I think I still have that somewhere. I think I still have that controller somewhere.
It's probably worth hanging on to.
Yeah. But yeah, only 3 achievements in that. So I didn't actually play it a great deal with Guitar Hero 3, I don't think. I think I probably bought it thinking that I'd play it quite a lot, but in reality, I played so much 2 that I was probably quite burnt out of Guitar Hero at that point.
And it was probably very close to the Xbox One launch, looking at its placement.
Yeah, yeah. And
So,
then weirdly, to have one just called Xbox One. I don't know what
so
that
that
was.
so we've done Craig's 360 achievements. That is 1 hour and
Yes.
40 minutes.
Nice.
So what we're going to do is we're going to end this video, and then we're going to start a new video. We're going to do the Xbox One. Obviously, Craig's probably going to need a drink in between to lubricate the throat. But that was a quick look at Craig's 360 achievements. There will be a part 2, which will be his Xbox One achievements. If you like the video, drop a like, drop a subscribe, and we will see you for part 2.